Hello gents, we're going to have a look at this Hobbyboss kit. It's of a Soviet OT-130 flamethrower tank. It's a 1/35 scale, quite a small tank. Let's read what it says on the box because I don't know anything about these. Its T-26 site was a Soviet light infantry tank used during many conflicts of the 1930s as well as during the Second World War. It was development of the British Vickers 6-ton tank and is widely considered one of the most successful tank designs of the 1930s. It was produced in great numbers than any other tank of the period, with more than 11,000 produced. During the 1930s, the USSR developed approximately 53 variants of the T-26, including other combat vehicles based on its chassis. 23 of these were mass-produced. T-26 was used extensively in the armies of Spain, China and Turkey. In addition, captured T-126 light tanks were used by the Finnish, German, Romanian and Hungarian armies. This product is not a toy. Okay, let's open it up and see what's inside. I'm saying that as if I should be surprised. But I have opened this up before, of course I have. As soon as you get a kit, you look inside. Let's have a look at the instructions. Hobbyboss are very similar to Trumpeter. I believe they are the same factory, just two different brands. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sort of sprues, one clear sprue and also individual tracks, some photo etch and some decals, individual one section box hull. Tracks look quite interesting. They require quite a bit of assembly with the pins if you're going to make them workable, so it's going to be quite a bit of work to do that. Photo etch just seems to be small details, sort of brackets and bits and pieces. As far as I can tell, the actual engine grills are not. Turret comes in 2 split halves, so we're going to have to work on that seam. Remember, no gun, it's actually a flamethrower tank. Hobbyboss, Trumpeter, they always present a nice coloured diagram. So that's obviously in the Soviet type markings. It's got like this red star on there. And this is the one that we're bound to do. I think it is Spanish Civil War, but maybe not. I'm just guessing because of this colour scheme on the turret. Some paraphernalia and advertisement for other kits in the range. Okay, let's start off with this. A hull in one piece. I think they have at least got some of the connection points for the eyler and the sprockets, and the rest all needs to be worked on. This box here are all the little tiny little all the tiny little individual tracks that all need to be formed up and assembled. Photo etch, like I said, it's brackets and details. Oh, there is one grill there. One clear part, which is the light. So that's that. Let's have a look at these sprue bags. May as well get them open and have a look at the detail. See if we can spot anything see how they approach things. Detail looks rather good. Let's get in there, let's have a look at that. Nice individual detailing. The rivets are all on there. There is a section of track there. It must be the spare track links get fitted on. There's some of the Pioneer tools. It's already placed within the molded on brackets. Doesn't look too bad. Nice fine details for that starter handle or whatever that is. Stuff looks good. There's a duplicate sprue. Drive gear. Let's have a look at how they do this. Running gear. Just have a look at one of them. Yeah, they're all very, very finely moulded. Look at these carrying these handles and those hooks or shackles. And then another one of the Pioneer tools, the shovel this time. It's already got the bracket moulded on. Doesn't look too bad. It's nice and thin. That's the main thing. Acceptable to me. That's duplicate sprue, so you get two of the same. Turret, as we said, more than 2 halves. You see the vision slits there. They should actually go all the way through, but probably with a dark wash in there. Maybe not. We'll thin out the plastic there. I don't know. Turret roof looks good. Some molded on details there. Those lifting eyes look very nice and fine. Now there's the MG. Looks pretty good. It isn't hollowed out. It's going to be quite a quick review because there isn't very much to look at. Probably crack straight on this build and give you a build review on top of this. It's just going to be a very short video. This is very good. This louver here, see-through, actually perforated through, goes all the way through. It looks excellent, really nice and fine detail. Another one of those handles, I think it's a starter handle. Looks really nice, fine detail. That's part of the exhaust components there. Again, that's all really well rendered, really nice because you can see through it that they've formed the bracketry nice and fine. It'll be really well supplemented with the photo etch parts. Fenders are detailed on the upper side, not detailed underneath, and there is loads of little holes I think that you need to drill out for attaching bits and pieces of the fenders. And then these are all the track pins. Loads and loads and loads of them. 1, 2, 3 bags of them. It's going to be fun. And then these are, okay, 4 of these sprues, exactly the same. Let's open up one. Have a look at the detail. Oh, that's nice. Look at the leaf springs. Really well detailed, really fine, nicely detailed. Look great. And some more pins. This must be to assemble these components. As long as everything fits together, it's going to be great. I think I'll just crack straight onto this. And then one more sprue to look at, which is 4 off that are the same. Road wheels. And those are sufficient. Let's just say that. Got all the bolt detail. And looks fine. Looks really good. Last thing is the decal set, which is only the number 279, the red star. So if you want to paint that turret marking, get the masking out tape and start doing it yourself. So anyways, I'm going to crack on with this build, tell you how it all goes together, because that's going to be a bit more interesting. Okay, I'm just going to sort of show you what I've discovered. Everything's been pretty straightforward. I've managed to get most of this built in a couple of hours really. Points to note, all this assembly here, they try to make things work, and I'll just show you what they have you do is make a unit with working road wheels, and also these parts articulate slightly as well. There, just sort of show you that's just clipped on at the moment, but just a point to note, like this was particularly like troublesome actually, trying to get these let's just hold on, just get that in focus there, getting these to line up to get these to pivot inside there. That was a bit tricky. I'll just show you something else. The road wheels, they go in, you see that there's only one way that the pin can enter through that side there. Let's just hold on, let's just get this. Okay, so to do this, what you do, you get your pin, it goes through one side like so, then you get the road wheel, and then the pin can go all the way through, and the only place you glue it is just there. I'll just show you how. It's just to make that pin captive, just needs a tiny amount of cement. I can imagine a lot of people getting caught out on this. Do you need the road wheels to rotate? No, you don't. You don't actually. The hull, very straightforward. Oh, look at that big glue smear on there. We'll clear that up. Everything goes together very easily. It fits very good. What's going to be a point to note on this assembly step here, we have to make sure that we get these bogey units aligned properly, and when you put them in, they do have quite a bit of play on them. They aren't like a really solid lock, so we need to make sure that's aligned flat, and once that's aligned flat, I'm going to lock it all together. Haven't really worked out what I'm going to do regarding the tracks. Might try for workable. Okay, some other bits to know. Let's turn on the page. Okay, this is really straightforward. The parts fit is excellent. Just take care when you assemble this part of the hull top, this box structure, because they're all filleted in, so make sure your cleanup is good. You don't really want to use filler here because there's very fine bolt head detail on there, so if you've got filler and you have to sand, you're going to eliminate it. I've got fairly good joints, I'm happy enough with it. I'll show you how all this fits together. It's pretty good actually, the way they've done this plate. You see, actually it's held captive inside there, slots in, perfect alignment. Then this rear plate goes in like so. This is the engine deck. If we can just, yeah, again, it just spreads the hull apart slightly, and then finally this part this whole top, you can see these little lugs. Well, they just go in like that. Just push it in. Fit is really good, really good. Won't need any filler, which is excellent. Okay, point to note here, this is that where that engine deck louver goes, probably air intake, but there's no engine detail whatsoever, so I'm going to put a blanking plate behind that. There's no point having anything except air behind that point there, so that's going to get filled in with a blanking plate. And also I have assembled the turret. The turret joins half to half. You can see the seam right there, right there. It's not actually that bad. It's not too bad at all. And actually is helped by the fact that you've got this front mantlet piece that'll go on like so, and that covers up quite a lot of the joint, but we want to make sure that's sanded flush. If we need to put a bit of filler on, we shall do so. And then we have a lot of detail to do. The turret's hardly any parts at all. I'll just show you how the vehicle looks at this stage. Quirky looking, isn't it? Yeah. But I'm going to tell you how we got on the tracks. I'm going to try to make them workable. If not, they'll be bonded on. So we'll crack on that next stage now. Okay, let's talk about these tracks. These are the instructions. As you can see, what you do is you get this jig board supplied, you have the track, and then you've got the pins. The idea is that you lay the track against in this board, put the pins in both sides, there's a tiny amount of cement, and then you're going to end up with a workable track, and they're handed because there is a slight difference in the pins. Now let's talk about the realities of this. Now I'm not saying they're the worst tracks, because they are not. It's a good idea, but it has got significant shortcomings. Now the first point is the tracks themselves. If I show them to you, we can get them in focus. They are on a sprue, and they are very finely detailed. However, and you may or may not see it on this link, and this is the advantage of doing a build review, there is flash sometimes on these. And what has been a godsend is been using these the God's hands to actually separate them from the sprue, because I've minimized my cleanup by getting a very clean separation point. So that's a good point. Removal of these is not a problem, yeah? You just need to do lots of them. The problem is this. Here are the pins. And the way they work is pretty good. It's like Kaizen did this arrangement as well. I think they sort of introduced this concept of having pins on either side to make workable track lengths, and you can see the way that the sprue is formed. This is actually the way that you insert it, so you don't clip it off at, oh, sorry guys, focusing issue again. Right, okay, yeah, as I was explaining, you don't clip it off here, you clip it off there, so you're able to manipulate them. Now, that pin is absolutely tiny, and therefore the contact point is going to be absolutely tiny. And there's one assembled link there. And what's happening is, first of all, inserting that pins has been, it's worked, I'd say 75% of the time, but there's a tiny little bit of flash. The pins won't enter. And then because of the tiniest amount of glue that you have to apply, remember, just to that point there to make them workable. If we can get that in again, let me try and show you again. Right, the contact point has to be just there. That's the only point of glue. And because the pins are so tiny, that causes two issues. One is, with a tiny amount of cement, you might not get a firm enough bond. Or secondly, if you apply too much cement, they just simply will not be workable. So I'm having issues of these either falling apart because the pins aren't joined. This one is actually working. Or they're actually like this section. This is the longest section I got up to here. Yeah, this is the longest length I've created. And a couple of the links are flexible, but not all of them. And I'm really sort of thinking, I'm going to try to make them, but it's tedious. I think you could get the entire thing workable, but I mean, the amount of cleanup and time it would take would be just ridiculous, in my opinion. So they're not it's a good concept, but the realities are, anything sort of workable in plastic just doesn't work. It's like that term, I keep on hearing this term, it was over-engineered. Don't say that about plastic model kits. They are plastic model kits. They haven't got an engineering function. Say there's too many parts, which is more correct, yeah? The thing is that they just don't, they don't work well as functional working parts. So when you try and create this sort of working track links, you end up with a lot of problems. You end up with compromise. Either there's poor bonding, or it doesn't function, or whatever, something just doesn't work. So I'm going to just soldier on and tell you how I get on, and I've got a lot to do. Let's just also recap on where I've got up to in the build. So builds here. There it goes. Listen to it. It's like you can run it because these rollers are still not fixed. They're going to have to be at some point, because if you notice, they've actually got play here, which is going to affect how that track link fits inside there. But I'm going to basically form all that up later on. So all this construction was really straightforward, very easy, very quick. And the other thing I found out as well is, I said I was going to have to cover up that engine deck with blanket off. Well, when you have it in situ, and because of the way it's angled, actually it's not an issue, so that's fine as it is. You can't see any light underneath there, underneath that grill portion. It's not bad. Did have an issue here with the construction of this hatch here, sort of my own fault. This part here, if I'd thinned it down, it would have been a much better fit. As it is, it's a little bit messy here, but can tidy it up. There's no need for any fillers so far, or whatever, just a bit of tidying up I need to do. Photo etching is gone. I need to crack on those tracks and let's see how it looks, and let's see if I can come up with a better way of constructing them as well. Well, finally the light is at the end of the tunnel on these tracks. They're glued in place. These toothpicks are just to make sure that the track adhere to that row of return rollers. You see all these little pins that had to be inserted, they all need to be taken out. And really at the end of it, it still looks like utter crap, to be honest. You can just see these sort of issues here with one point here is this actual alignment of the road wheel with these bogies. Somehow it's out. If I left the sprocket slightly outboard, I suppose I wouldn't have had that. It's really noticeable actually if you look at it like that. The sort of final connection here is absolutely terrible. It's all bent and twisted. The curve towards the rear of this idler, it's okay, but it's not too great there. That should be really flat on there. You can just see it in profile. Yeah, not really the best job in the world by any means. And really the amount of time that it took was just ridiculous, especially for, you know, time spent to reward is yeah, it's pretty terrible to be honest. But they are small little tracks, they are very well detailed. I'm sure a better model would make much more of that. But let's just crack on now and add all the detailed parts to finish off this build, and I'll just give you a roundup on what I think. Well, I'm glad to say that this model is complete in terms of build anyways. So I've had a bit of time to reflect. Didn't show you the final parts, which was attaching the detailed parts, mainly the photo etch components, some of the Pioneer tools. The turret was already completed, just simply goes on like that, and there is the finished Soviet OT-130 flamethrower tank. And you know, I just actually read it had 900 plus parts. Obviously well over 500 or more parts were just those tracks, especially the pins. Don't really want to dwell on that. I would say actually it is a very good model in terms of detail, and what's led me to that conclusion is really when I've added on the final details, such as these fender supports being in photo etch. They're very finely detailed. This engine grille, the spare wheel retainer, which is brass as well, these fender strengthening points here in brass as well, the front light mounts as well, those are also brass as well. It was meant to be movable, but of course totally impractical. And the model does look really good. It looks quite well detailed for a diminutive little model like that. And yeah, I'm not going to go on about the tracks. I did have a look through the Hobbyboss catalogue, and this is one of the few ones that they actually elected to go with this system of adding the track pins, but all the other models in the Hobbyboss range that are T26 type tanks also have that arrangement, so be aware. But looks good. Maybe we'll get around to painting it one day. Hope you enjoy the review. I just remember there was one thing I was a bit iffy about, is this part here. I've actually snapped. I need to do a bit of repair work here. I don't know what that is. I think it may be a jack, but I'm a bit dubious on the detail actually just on that component there. I sort of wish I'd omitted it as well, and you can see actually how close it is to the exhaust stack. So I recommend, I think the way I installed all this rather quickly, because I did notice there was going to be some clearance issues. But besides that, yeah, everything looks really good on here. So that ends it. If you're interested in the kit, there's the box again. It is quite small, but it does make quite a nicely detailed model from Hobbyboss.